It's time to wind down, time to wise up. Discussing life, exploring the word, gaining wisdom with encouraging words. It's time for Tea with Tiff.
Good evening and welcome to Tea Time with Tiff. I'm your host, Tiffany Henderson, and I am delighted that you chose to spend your evening with us here tonight. Tea Time with Tiff is just a wonderful time to just sit down, relax, wind down, get your tea, and get some wisdom, hear from some amazing people. I have an amazing guest tonight. But what I want you to do tonight is make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to this broadcast. Be sure to subscribe so that you can receive notifications for every time Tea Time airs. A new episode will premiere every second and fourth Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So please subscribe to this channel, like it, hit me up on Instagram. I am Tiffany Henderson on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as Tiffany Henderson. I'm on Twitter at Prophet Tiffany on Twitter. So all the major social media platforms, I'm there. Connect with me, send me a DM, let me know what you think about the show. Let me know if you have any topics that you want to discuss, things that you want to know about. I'm here, I'm available. I would love to hear from you. You can also go to our ministry website. That's thekingdomac.com. You can send me an email there. No matter what platform, I'll be available. I will listen to you and respond. So I'm excited tonight because for the second week in a row, I have my boo, my baby daddy, my husband, Apostle Larry Henderson. He is our special guest tonight. Welcome, honey, back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be great.
Yeah. So, so this episode, last time we were together, we talked about the word of the Lord for the year and what we believe God is saying to the church, to the body as a whole. And today we got a lot of feedback, so thank you for your feedback. Today we're discussing what it's like to work with your spouse 24/7. You know, we're talking about 24/7, babe. What does that look like? What does it mean to be with your spouse, to work with your spouse? We're all in the pandemic right now. And many of us, for the first time ever, are living and working with our spouses, and it's difficult. You're living and working with other people, and it's different. You're living, working, going to school with your kids. It is difficult. So I really want everyone to really kind of pay attention, because the truth is we have been living and working together for a couple of years now, where we're in the same space all the time, like all the time. So we're going to talk about how we've been able to manage this for years. For some of you, this is new to you, but we've been doing this for a long time. Like, this is not new to us. So we want to kind of give some tips on how to make this time work for you, and also just sharing some of the highlights and even the pitfalls that we have been able to come out of living and working together. I want us to perhaps give a little bit of background about ourselves. For those of you who don't know us, we have an interesting story, would you say?
Sure. It's quite interesting. It's quite compelling.
So what I won't do is give you all of the details, but
yeah, that'll take a long time.
It would, and we'll maybe have a special show for that. But the highlights are, we met when we were 17. Mm-hmm. We met in the summer leading up to our senior year of high school.
95.
At a Christian retreat. It was a young retreat for young people from different churches across the state of Ohio, from Ohio. Mm-hmm. And the long and short of it is, we met at this retreat. A lot of stuff went down. You know, he said stuff, I said stuff.
Long and short of it is, she tracked me down.
Oh my God!
She asked me all of these thousands of questions, and then I'm like, who are you again? That's the long and short of it. The long and short of it is, I loved her from the first moment I lay eyes on her, and I knew I wanted to marry her. I was 100. Can you say 100 with me? I was 100% sure that I wanted to be with her for the rest of my life. She was kind of like, I don't know if you in quite the right package I want you to be in, but she loves me anyway.
Okay, so some of that is true. Tracking him down I don't know about tracking him down, but I did go and I had some questions for him because I heard about him. Anyway, that's a whole story. It's a whole story.
It's a whole story.
What eventually happened was that we talked and we liked each other. We had, we were together, then we weren't, and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Our senior year of college is when we got married. I do not advise that for any young people out there. It's rough. And if you're not 100% sure, like he said, he was 100% sure. If you're not 100% sure, don't do that in college.
Yeah.
Now that we have a child that's college age, I'm like, don't do that. So we got married our senior year in college. It was quite difficult, but it was a lot of fun. It was like I could say our early years were so much fun. I mean, we're having fun now, but then though we were really, really free. We didn't have no kids, so we were just really getting a chance to get to know each other.
And we're trying to get back to that state.
Yes, we're close. We're close.
We're close.
So we're now married 21 years come March. This March it'll be 21 years. We have 2 children that we birthed. Our son is 18. Our daughter is 13. Then we have other children that we've adopted over the years. So we have Alexis is 20. How old is Lexi? 23. And of course, Kiera is one of our kids now. Victoria is one of our kids. Victoria is like 28 now. So anyway, we've collected children over the years. And I think that's really what keeps us young, is having all of these young people around us who tell us we're old, but they love us anyway. So that's pretty much it. So, and over the years, we've gone to school, we've purchased houses, cars, and and then we started a church in 2012. So that's when this chapter begins, really. Is when we started this church back in 2012. I was an attorney at a law firm at the time, and you were working at Motorola. So we started off like the Lord, commissioned us to begin this church. We weren't quite sure that this is what we wanted to do. But I wasn't quite sure this is what we wanted to do. I think he pretty much knew, and he waited on me to become confident that this is the direction we should go in.
I always know.
He swears he knows everything. Anyway, so once he waited on me to be okay, and once I became okay with the idea, then we launched it, and it has been amazing seeing it grow from our living room to a building. And over the years, in these last 8-9 years, the church has grown and expanded to where I left. He began working here full time, I guess, only after the second year. He began working here at the church full time. And then I came to work here full time a couple of years ago. So I left my legal practice and began to work here as a pastor, overseer, prophet for full time for the last couple of years. So we've been working together, bringing this all full circle. We've been working together, living together, raising our children together, doing everything together for the last couple of years. So we're not new to this. We do this. So for those of you who have been in this state for the last 9 months, and you're like, I don't know how people do this. Well, we're going to tell you how we do this. So, good apostle, what is your favorite thing about working with your spouse?
I think before I answer that though, and I enjoy working with my spouse. I ask profit to work here at the Kingdom Advancement Center with me. So she's working here, at my request.
That is true.
I think before I can answer that question, I think it's important to say that what makes our communication, what makes our work environment enjoyable, and what makes our relationship enjoyable, period, is that we actually like each other. I think we need to start with that. I think most married couples and even divorcees actually would say that they love each other. If you were to ask someone, do they love their spouse, they would say, yeah, I love them. Even if you were to ask divorced people, many divorced people would say, yeah, I still love him or her, even though we're not married anymore. And I think that the secret sauce to staying married has to start with like and not love, though. Love is a commitment, where like has to do more with the joy, the enjoyability part of the relationship. It has to do with the dating part of the relationship, keeping the fire lit part of the relationship. And so I think that what I like about you is that you actually like me.
Yeah, that's right. I do. I think that is so key. We actually, for everybody who is here at the KAC, everybody who knows us, we play a lot, like a lot, sometimes too much. But and it's mainly because we actually like being around each other. We really find solace in each other's company. Where when we get home, like we do what we need to do, check on our children, do all that kind of stuff. But we do retreat to our bedroom, like where we can actually just talk and be with one another, even though we were just at work with one another, because we actually do like each other and we actually care to know what the other one is thinking about anything. So I think that is one of the biggest keys.
So what was your original question?
What's your favorite thing about working with your spouse?
My favorite thing about working with you actually starts with my favorite thing about you, though.
Okay.
And maybe I won't get myself in trouble by prioritizing these, but
please don't.
I think that the thing that I like about you, one of the major things I like about you is that you're smart, though.
Yeah.
And I like it that you are my intellectual equal. And that when I speak to you about something that's important to me, I know that my words and thoughts are not getting lost in a void, because you're capable of understanding what I'm saying.
Come on.
I think that's number one.
Ooh.
And then what balances that more serious world, America, is that my wife is quite entertaining. I get much joy from just looking at, staring at, being in the presence of my wife. She is quite dramatic, America. Are you listening, America? And so that balance is what the
person saying America.
That balance is what keeps our relationship fun, and it's a part of what makes our work relationship work as well, because I actually work better when you're near me, even if you're not saying anything. So
I think that's
fun.
That's true. I mean, one of the things that I think, one of the main things, and the main reason I was attracted to him from the beginning was because he was extremely intelligent. This was a person, I didn't know all of this really. My cousin Akiva, I know she's watching. My cousin Akiva, she actually told me, you should talk to him. And
we went to high school together.
Yeah, he went to high school with my cousin. And don't forget, you can chat while we're talking. Please chat while we're talking, so that, if you have a question about any of this, we will talk back. So anyway, so Akavi was like, girl, he's like salutatorian of our class. He plays football. He's National Honor Society. He seems like she thought he was my equal then.
And she started planting the seed my freshman year, actually, because she always sat next to me in every class because our last names were one letter apart. So
yeah, so she apparently saw this long time ago. And so when when she first told me about it, I was like, like you said, I was used to a nice bulky guy. At the time, he was this big, so I was like, but he started. But he started talking to me though, and I was so amazed at what came out of his mouth. I was immediately smitten because he knew the word inside and out. You know, he was very smart, and everything that we talked about, because we're intellectual people, we've been this way, you know, before we knew each other, we were already intellectual people. And I think that gets into like just compatibility with your spouse, like trying to figure out like, who is it that you should be with? You should be with someone that you can actually speak with on a daily basis, that you all can share conversations, and you don't look at your spouse like they're dumb. Like I've seen that when I'm listening to people and I see spouses talk to one another, and I can see the husband looking at his wife like, you are dumb. And then all I'm thinking is, you are equally as dumb because you married her knowing she ain't know nothing. So like, I mean, it's just,
that is terrible.
I mean, I'm serious. Like but it happens all the time though. I'm like, you know, people like, it's, you know, people are like, oh, you shouldn't say that, but I see it. I really do. And so if you're going to really have a marriage that lasts, or even working relationships that last, it needs to be with someone who you're intellectually compatible with. And that way your conversations can be more in depth. You can actually accomplish things, and you'll actually enjoy being with that person outside of just, you know, most times people just get together because they're physically compatible and not just mentally and intellectually and spiritually. So I like that. Speaking of all of these different roles that we have, how do you separate the different roles that we share as co-workers and spouses while working together?
The short answer to that is not well. That's the short answer. Our work relationship at the Kingdom Advancement Center, we get a lot of work done at the Kingdom Advancement Center. We're very corporate and business oriented and project oriented at the Kingdom Advancement Center, but we are also very familial at the Kingdom Advancement Center. Mm-hmm. So though I'm the senior overseer, the senior pastor here at the Kingdom Advancement Center, and my wife is pretty much over operations and women's ministry here at the Kingdom Advancement Center. Because we are married, though, the lines of authority are quite often blurred here at the Kingdom Advancement Center. And that's okay, though, because we want the Kingdom Advancement Center to be a family-oriented church. And we know how to sort of reset ourselves to make sure that we can execute what we need to get done. I think what makes us work and what makes the Kingdom Advancement Center work, and everyone who works with us in the community and beyond, what makes us work is that we're the same everywhere we go.
That's true. Yeah.
And some people compartmentalize their work life and their personal life, or their church life and their personal life, but that's just not what we do. We're the same. We're the same everywhere.
Yes.
And
yes.
So we're not spiritually or professionally schizophrenic. And that helps us because we don't have to change who we are in different environments and settings.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, you know, our roles, because we work so closely together, we do find ourselves in situations where, you know, sometimes it gets a little tense. So, you know, he always said, listen, we have staff meetings, and we're in these staff meetings. All right, listen, this is how it's going to go, as, you know, he's giving his CEO talk. Mm-hmm. But then he'll slip up and say, well, I don't know, baby. I'm like, wait, hold on. If you CEO, be CEO. And you call me prophet or COO, don't baby me in this meeting. So, because you want me to do something for you. Like, that's not how this is supposed to work. And I think that
that's true.
He slips on that. But then also, I will admit that at times I may be a little disrespectful. Because, you know, when he says something, I'm like, well, hold on. And then instead of recognizing that there, it is a hierarchy, and we have to be mindful of that. I'm working on that. I'm a work in progress on this.
Let me roll my eyes again.
Because, sometimes I hear stuff come out his mouth and I want to respond as wife and not necessarily respond as COO. Like, okay, I understand and I know what my role needs to be with that. Or if I don't like it, it doesn't matter. I need to follow what he says. We've worked really hard to get to this point.
Right.
Let me just say this from the outset. We did not start off like this. Our early years of our marriage and our relationship, we were not as seamless. It has taken the literal 21 years we've been married to get to this point where we play fair, where we fight fair, where we actually can respect one another's point of view, and also roles and positions. Like, now that role part is extremely difficult for women, I think, even more so than men, because they're like, oh no, we have to be responsible for everything, and and our decisions matter, and blah blah blah, and we like, but I got thoughts, ideas, and as you can see, I'm a very strong woman and I have very strong opinions about everything.
That you are.
And it takes a very strong man to be able to manage me in light of all of that. So it took a long time for us to get to the point where I'm okay with him managing me.
I think one of the fundamental ways that we manage ourselves is that we have a lot of, we call them conversations in the car. We have a lot of conversations in the car. Shout out to Pastor Antoine and Dr. Jennifer. And what our car conversations, whether they're actually in the car or not, that's what we call them, consist of us talking about how we're going to agree and behave ourselves when we are in the presence meeting with others.
Yes. Yes.
And so what that has to do with
we talked about this in the car.
Right, exactly. Like, babe, we talked about this in the car. We talked about this, that in this particular meeting, you are going to let my ideas prevail, and you are going to at least appear like you agree with them. And vice versa. And so that
first of all, it never is vice versa. Let's not even play. Like,
can I talk to you once more, America? America, I want you to know, even before this show, my wife came to me and ran some of the questions of the show before me, and I began to think, why is she asking me these questions? Because she wanted to make sure she could anticipate what my answers might be.
Yes, it's my show. So, of course, I'm going to do that.
Yes.
Most assuredly.
She wanted to make sure I wouldn't become unpredictable on Tea Time with
because, last week you were talking about I was delicious. I'm like, we can't do this again.
You're delicious this week, too.
I'm just saying, like, you got to stay on task. So, the point is that it helps when we can talk about all of these things and share, like, listen, when we get in here, this is what we're going to do. And so that kind of communication is key.
Yes.
So that you'll know how to be able to manage. But it starts with actually respecting your spouse and honoring them. Like, I want to always honor him. I want him always to be looked at in the best light possible. And he the same for me. And because of that, we're like, okay, we cannot always have what we want in every scenario. So I can't push my agenda if it's going to be bad for you. And you can't always push your agenda if it's going to be bad for me. So.
And I would love to address that too, because that's
Go ahead.
I think agreement starts with not taking yourself too seriously. It starts with that. I think that we probably argue about something at some level once a day. But I think that, and this is deceiving to other young couples or people who want to get married and watching us, because we can argue about something and then say, hey, let's go get some ice cream.
Yes.
And that may appear that we're not resolving our argument, but that isn't true. At some point, we sit down and talk about what our differences are so that we can come to some agreement. And I think the basic foundation of our relationship as well for both of us, and especially for the husband too, is something that just has to be learned, is that every every disagreement in the relationship has to start with someone who's willing to lose something, though. And you have to be okay that you're willing to give up something that you really wanted, and that giving up something that you really wanted isn't a life-changing thing.
Wow. That's
like
good.
it's okay for me to give up something that I wanted, and even to give up some part of my dream so that my spouse can realize her dream.
Yeah.
My wife is going to realize my dream by me giving up something. Jesus talked about this. Jesus said, he who seeks to save his life will lose it. Yeah. And he who loses his life for my sake and the sake of the gospel will find it. And so it's just, it's a point you have to grow to where you're willing to give up something in hopes of gaining something, and giving up the right to be right.
Yes. Yeah.
Like what's more important, me being right in this scenario, or our agreements in this scenario for the greater good?
And I think we have mastered that over these 20 years. Even like one of the biggest things to get us even to this point was, when we were talking about how we started this church, and how being a pastor, senior leader, flock care, prophet, all of that stuff was never anything I wanted. As a matter of fact, one of the very first conversations we had together at 17 years old, when I met him and I heard what was coming out of his mouth, I was like, oh no, you should know that I never want to be a pastor's wife.
The first day we met.
One of the very first conversations, first day, I could tell that this dude was going in a direction I had no intention of going down. And I'm like, I have no intention. I don't want to be a pastor's wife. I don't want to be married to no preacher. I'm not a preacher. I don't want nothing to do in it. I love Jesus. It's me and him. We gonna change the world, but I don't have to be a preacher to do it. And then, this is my life now.
Tell Jesus what you won't do.
Right. The thing was that in the time, though, and he knew that, and, because we talked about it often. And in the time that he felt led by God to launch this ministry, he still didn't force it on me, though. He still delayed the launching and delayed this time frame, and to give the Father time to warm my heart up to it, because I was staunchly against it for a long time. And so it was both of us giving up some things. Like he had to give up the desire to go full-fledged into this earlier in his youth, when he thought, he had the strength to do more in order to do it. And then I had to give up my desire to stay in the shadows of all of this and think that I could lead from behind, and give up. I knew that was going to mean that we were going to give up a lot of things as a family. Right. That our lives really wouldn't be our own. So many people, that's the whole thing. Like, it's just me, my husband, my kids, that kind of thing. And whereas our lives don't belong to us, and I knew that. And so I was willing to let that particular dream die in order to adopt his, right, and make it my own, and then make the most out of that. Right. So these are some really big things, some dreams that he had that had to be delayed, and then now it's a totally different look, and even some that I had. But the one thing that when you do that, you realize that in the end, it's still good.
Yeah,
I don't regret it at all.
Well, the reality is that we have realized more of our dream by giving up what we thought our dream was.
Very good, yeah.
By giving up, by taking a hold of God's dream and making his dream our dream, we've realized more of our dream.
Come on.
Isn't that amazing?
That's real good, yeah.
And so I think we have more money and more vacations and more fun times and more friends who are actually friends, by taking a hold of God's dream than we had when we were delaying it, thinking that giving up our lives and letting God take hold of more of our lives was going to make us unhappy. And that's just not true. The more we've given over to God's dream, the happier we've been.
That's true. I mean, and it took a lot of self, just denial, like just
Denying
a self denial,
which is what Jesus said.
Yeah, listen. I mean, I had all kinds of ideas and dreams about my career path. Never in a million years could you have paid 20-year-old Tiff to believe that she would be a pastor.
Right.
And that's all that she does. Never would you have been able to pay me to do that. So but the fact that I'm here now, and the fact that we're here now, we love it, and that gets into like how we survive in this space, because we're actually doing what God has called us to do. So it's not as laborious as it would be if we were doing something that we weren't called to.
Right.
If we were doing something that we we weren't passionate about. And because we both, like when I got hold of the vision and I made it my own, and the Father began to speak to me and to massage my heart and show me what it is that we needed to do, it really became mine. So I'm just as passionate, I'm just as excited about it as you are, and that helps. So another question becomes now, what do we do when we actually do need space? Like when we've been with each other for a long time, and we're working, we need space. What do we do?
Well, one of the fundamental ways that we get space is that because our work week is not traditional, we don't have the normal Saturday and Sunday off because, our main work day is on Sunday. So what that means is we have to take different days off than the traditional Saturday and Sunday. And one of the fundamental things that we do is that one of our days off isn't shared.
Yes.
So I take Tuesday off and she takes Friday off. That gives me an opportunity to have my own me time by myself. And Friday is her day to have her time by herself without me. And so that gives us some space some time where we're not in the same space.
Yes, I will. On our off days, we stay home or go wherever, and the other one make sure we come into the office so that space is actually separate. But
Saturday is our joined day off.
Yes, and then there are times when we can swap it or whatever. We do have flexibility. We do have flexible working time, so that helps. So just making a point to take some time apart, like to get some stuff done that you want. If I say, hey, I'm going to get in the tub, that he knows, don't bother me, leave me alone. I'm gonna be in there and I'm gonna have tub time. It's just Tiff. We're just I'm soaking, I'm relaxing, I'm woo-sawing. And so, when he goes down in his little gym in the basement, I don't go down there unless he asks me to. But hey, have your time, do what you need to do. When he wants to watch the game, go do that. Have fun, praise God. It's just just giving the person time to have their own stuff, to be the, to really have their own time and their own space to be them, and to have time by themselves is important. I think it's been good when we have these times apart, so that we're not really completely, what's the word?
In each other's face.
Yes, that wasn't what I was going to say, but that works. So, so what is it that you think can happen or needs to happen for couples to become more successful at this live work space? So that, because people are in this pandemic and they're going to be probably sharing the same space for a little while longer. And some people are not doing well in this space. We've seen a lot of marriages completely break and fall apart over this pandemic.
Right.
For those who are still hanging on by a thread, how do you get them to, how do you think they can make it work so that they can actually have longevity from this point on?
I would first say that the pandemic doesn't have anything to do with it. The pandemic is just a crisis. What crisis brings to the surface whatever problems you had that were unspoken or undealt with outside of crisis. That's all crisis does. Like, the pandemic is not making your marriage worse. If the pandemic is making your marriage or any of your relationships worse, your relationship was bad going into it. And so that's something that each of us has to take ownership just of that first.
Yeah.
To make anyone's relationship, and speaking of marriage relationships, better, and how we've made our relationship better too, is I think that one of the parties in the relationship, and I always pick with the husbands because we're first. We always say we're the head of the house. We want to be in charge. What that means, we're the ones that have to deny ourselves first. So I think that needs to be said. I would say that what each married couple needs to make a decision to take competition out of the relationship. And because every relationship has some level of competition where there's always this constant proving of who's right. And that's a competition part of the relationship where I'm trying to sort of prove that I'm better than you. And it can take on many different faces, but someone has to decide that this is not a competition though.
Yeah.
We're not competing against one another to see who's better or who's more consistently right or any of those things. And that was a problem that I had early on in our marriage. Because when there's competition in the marriage, then what happens when one spouse begins to look like they're rising higher than the other spouse, then you feel threatened. And so I remember very clearly when my wife first came to me after we graduated from undergrad, and I was already in corporate America doing my thing as an engineer. I remember very clearly my wife came to me and said she wanted to go to law school. And I wasn't happy when she first said she wanted to go to law school though.
That's true.
And the reason why I wasn't happy, because in my how long have we been married then? About what?
It was only 2 or 3 years.
Was it 2 or 3 years?
Yeah.
What year did you first go to law school? Do you remember?
2005.
So 5 years.
But I mean, that's when I went. But when I talked to you about it, it was maybe like 2000.
Yeah, we have been married 5 years when she first began to speak to me about this, and I remember that
I graduated in 2005.
Did you?
Yeah, so it was 2002 when
Okay.
I went. Yes.
All right.
So 2 years.
And so I remember thinking like, man, she's going to go to law school and become an attorney and go work at a big law firm, and she's going to be smarter than me and think that she doesn't need me anymore. That was my first thought. So I wasn't like thrilled about it, because in my mind, in our young marriage, it was still a competition, right? Like, I was in corporate America. I was making the most money. I was the head of the household. I was the boss. And what she was going to do is begin to be an attorney and think that she was the boss.
I was already the boss. I was already smarter than him. He just didn't know.
See, you see what do you see what I'm talking about, America?
He just didn't know.
So those were my original thoughts, and I had to become okay with the idea that you could rise higher than me, and I was okay with that. All right. And so now, of course, over time, I'm on the complete other end of the spectrum now. Right now, I'm like, hey, what do you want to do now? I would love it if you were the CEO of your own corporation and I can just stay home with the kids and cook and clean.
Don't even talk about you.
Matter of fact, I don't even need to I can just go be a greeter at Walmart. And you go ahead, girl. You go, girl.
Shut up.
Black women matter. Black girls rock.
I cannot.
And so I'm like, yes, please do that. And I would just chill, right? But it took me a long time to get to where I was okay with, if you make more money than me or you rise higher on the corporate ladder than me, like I really could care less.
But something important though, at that time, I didn't know he felt that way though. Even he told me about it later, like in our conversations about, you know, where we were going or what we were trying to accomplish, he finally just confessed it one day, like, yeah, I wasn't excited about that because your words to me were, I didn't think you would need me anymore.
Right.
And my words back to him was, I never needed you from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Like, I wanted you. Like, mm-hmm. I wanted to be with you.
Do you see our dynamic, Amira? Go ahead, baby.
I mean, as we said from the beginning, we both were equally smart and intelligent. I was very able and capable, was going to get what I needed to get done in life, period. Period. Whether he was there or not. But I wanted to share that with him. And it's not, and a lot of men hear that and think I'm not trying to slight him at all. But I do recognize and know my value, worth, and what I can do. Mm-hmm. And so I will never allow anyone to diminish that. But I think it's a testament to him mm-hmm. and how great he is that I even want him in my space. And even the same for me. Like, it's a testament to who I am that he even wants me in his space. As he said in the beginning, it's because we're equally yoked. Because we're both like, no, you can rock with me. You can walk with me. You can build with me. We see each other as equals. And so, yes, it's, he can say that, even though, because of who he is, he will never say, no, I didn't need you. I wanted you. Like, he won't say that. But, but it's true, though. It's true that he wanted me in his space. And though,
it's not true. I need you.
He does. He does. Mm-hmm. He's a man that needs a wife. And you need me. That's right.
That's right.
So these types of things, though, are important. And I would say for people who are struggling right now, and you're like, I need to figure out, and obviously, yes, you probably had some rocky moments prior to this. Mm-hmm. But one thing I think will help is something that we said in the beginning, is begin playing with one another again. Like, begin actually seeing the good in the other person and seeing who they are and just appreciating that. And say, you know what, let's just do something fun right now. We are very good at that. Like, I think we major in that. We make sure we try to get a weekend away every chance we get. We're like, you know what, we're going to go to Wisconsin. We're going to catch a plane. We're going to go to somewhere. Mm-hmm. And we're just going to be with each other and just have fun for that weekend. We do it often to make sure we reconnect and we stay connected. I think a lot of parents essentially who don't take that time, they're married, they have kids, and then they don't figure out how to make sure that they reinvest in their marriage. And when their kids get older and grown, they're like, oh, I don't really know who you are anymore. So you might find yourself,
in each other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You just have to, figure out how to invest in your spouse, how to have fun with them, and just do something with just the two of you where that has nothing to do with fixing something at the house, mm-hmm. with, doing something at the church or doing something at work, but just the two of you, whatever it was that you thought was fun and cute and all that in the beginning, figure that out again.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
I know this is your show and all.
I mean, do what you need to do. Do what you need to do.
What do you enjoy about working with me? Oh,
so I thought I said that, but okay. So what I enjoy about working with you is I enjoy watching you be in your element. Mm-hmm. Like, when you're here, you are, and in your office, when you are always on top of it. It's irritating sometimes because you can't come out of it. Mm-hmm. Like, it takes you a while to mm-hmm. kind of just be, but you get in here and you start going and you're like, no, I got to do this, got to do that. And I enjoy watching you mm-hmm. fulfill the call of God on your life. Like, okay. It's really mm-hmm. amazing to see you work. Sometimes, you can be a bit much, but mm-hmm. I appreciate the fact that it's your passion.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you had a ready answer for that.
Oh, listen, I'm already ready. Always. But I even further enjoy the fact that we are, that we're like-minded. Mm-hmm. And so when I have something that I want to do, you readily support it and you're mm-hmm. like, oh no, I think that's a great idea. And then you work to help me fulfill it.
As long as you stay within your budget.
So, the fact
Amen. Praise God.
The fact that that you are, you're extremely supportive. I really like that. When I have ideas, which I'm full of ideas. I have a chock full of ideas every day.
Yes, you do.
And working with you kind of keep me grounded. Like, listen, why don't you hold that off till 2022? Hold that off for a while. Focus on this. So the balance, I think, is one of the greatest things is that we provide balance for one another.
And we have a great team around us as well.
We do. Our team is just the best. They are. And then they help us stay balanced as well because, we both can be up here and they're like, wait, just take it back a notch, reel it in, and then we work. So I think our synergy is really good. Here in the building, I think it's really good, and I enjoy being in an environment where we have synergy.
Yes,
where we can actually accomplish things. Because one thing about the two of us, we are very much goals driven.
Type A personality people.
Yeah, we are. So because of that, I think it helps us to be able to drive one another and push to be great. So any final words or anything, words of wisdom or anything to help with people who may be listening on this 24/7 bay?
Yeah, I think it's important to say and to not gloss over this very important point is that the foundation of your marriage still must be Jesus, though. And the foundation of your marriage must still be the Word of God. And so some people say, what's the secret sauce to your marriage? The secret sauce to our marriage is Jesus, though.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to leave this show at all without saying that. The secret sauce to our marriage is that whether we agree or disagree, we come back to agreement and we continue to agree because we have a foundation in the Word of God.
Yes.
You and I actually have a relationship with the Word. And because we have a mutual relationship independently with the Word, that's the tie that binds us. That's what keeps us moving in the same direction because we're able to hear from the Holy Spirit to keep us, to guide us. It's the Holy Spirit who shows us things to come and guides us into all truth. And so there's a third party who can correct us when we're going the wrong direction, and he can correct us independently when we're not in agreement.
Yes.
And bring our hearts back on track.
That's good. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So, yes, if you want your relationship to work, then you have to work on your relationship with Jesus, because the extent to which you are off in your relationship with Jesus is the extent to which you're going to begin to find that this relationship is off and it is moving in separate directions.
Yeah, I really wanted to get into this other topic, which I know will probably open up a whole nother can of worms, but it was just about building an empire, building something together. And the reason why we're able to build something, because in this what we're building continues to grow and develop, and is now taking on so many different shapes and all kinds of directions that we didn't really know exactly in the beginning. And I think the foundation of it is Jesus. When we first met each other, remember the very first things that came out of his mouth was Jesus, and he wanted to talk to me about it. And I was at the place where that's all I wanted to hear. And so because we were both seeking after him, and we had him at the heart of who we are, that is how we found one another. That's
a huge relationship subject right there.
It is.
It is.
We'll get to it another time.
Okay, because that's a big, a very large subject is what's in bounds to talk about when you first meet someone as a single person. That's a big subject.
Ooh, we're going to save that one. Oh, yeah. Because listen, it's so much that needs to happen in that first conversation. I mean, like that first conversation. Yeah, so we're gonna do that again. We're gonna do that on another episode. I want to thank my spouse, husband, my apostle, my leader, my boyfriend. I love him so much. I'm excited. Thank you for coming on the show. You're going to do this again. We can talk about this.
I'm going to do this again. I'm welcome to come back again.
Yes, you are. Yes, we have to do it. We have to do this episode where we're talking about this.
Yes.
So please remember to like, share, subscribe. Let everyone know that Tea Time is on every Sunday, every second and fourth Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Receive the notifications and log in to the premiere every Sunday night. I look forward to hearing from you through the chat. I look forward to hearing from you on Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, wherever you are, I'm there, and I want to hear from you. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, remember to wind down and wise up with Tea Time with Tiff. Have a good evening.
It's time to wind down, time to wise up, discussing life, exploring the word, gaining wisdom with encouraging words. It's time for Tea